Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I am filming my reading wrap up for November. I can't believe it's the end of November. It's absolutely so crazy. I hope you had a great November. Let's go ahead and hop into what I read. So let's start with a really cute one that I really enjoyed. Now I'm a little late to this, but I read Last Licks by Cynthia Baxter. This is part of the Lickety Splits Ice Cream Shop mystery series. I think I've read now 3 books from this series and I've just really enjoyed this. Our main character in this is Kate and she runs Lickety Splits Ice Cream Shop, and this is a very family-centric cozy. Her niece works with her as well as her grandmother. They all live together, so I really love that element. She calls her grandmother Grams, which makes me think of my own grandmother. And this one in particular, there's a film crew that actually contacts her to film a scene in her ice cream shop, and she's very excited until someone ends up dying on the set in her ice cream shop and she investigates. This had such an intense ending. It was really good. Lots of Halloween fun. So if you're not too tired of Halloween at this point, if you're still looking for those kind of fall spooky fun vibes, I think this is a really great read. I had a really great time with it. The series is also on the shorter side. It's like 230, 240 pages, so you definitely can fly through these. They're really enjoyable, really fun, good mystery with this. I really like the characters. I had a really great time with it. So I read one of the most famous thrillers of all time this month. Finally got around to it. I think it came out in 2012, and that is Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn. So this, from what I understand, kind of started the thriller trends that we have today, like a lot more like domestic thrillers, psychological thrillers, instead of like a lot of them being like more legal thrillers or like, I don't know, like hard-boiled detective thrillers, more like, I guess, I don't want to say relatable because most of us aren't in like this harrowing of a situation, I would hope, but you know, more like you could picture this happening down the street or something kind of thrillers with like, you know, couples or friends, stuff like that. So I really wanted to read this. I did know the biggest twist to this going in, however, I was still absolutely stunned by the writing. I thought it was so good. The pacing was amazing. I really enjoyed this. The basic premise of this is the kind of main character we're following is Nick, and his wife Amy ends up going missing. And so you're reading different entries from her diary leading up to her disappearance. You're reading from his present day concerns, kind of watching him as he becomes a suspect in the crime, because oftentimes husbands or spouses or partners are involved in the deaths of their loved ones or disappearances, which is just terrible. But this book shocked me. Even though I knew like the biggest twist going in, I was still just shocked with like the intensity and just how much this gets in your head. It really is quite dark. It's very psychological. It's really intense. I really want to read more Gillian Flynn now. I really enjoyed this, and I was a little worried going in because this book it's over 400 pages, and for a thriller, typically that's a little long for me, for my taste. I think a thriller's sweet spot is usually in the 300s, but I really loved this. This was good. I can see why it became such like a huge hit, and like I think they have a movie on it and everything, so I was really impressed with this. If you haven't read it, even if you know the twist, I would read it. I thought I still had an amazing time with it. Let's get into some cozies next. I have quite a stack here. So I did do 2, I think, reading vlogs this month. I'm going to link both of them above if you want more details. One of them was a Christmas reading vlog where you're going to see some of these Christmas cozies I'm talking about, and the other one had kind of a random smattering of some of these cozies too. So if you want more in-depth reviews and some just cozy times, Christmas decorating, baking, all those sort of things, check those out. But I'm gonna go through these a little bit quicker if I talked about them in a vlog. So starting off, I read the first 2 and the only 2 books out in the True Confections mystery series by Sarah Fox. I loved this. So I specifically read this book this month because I wanted to prepare for my Christmas vlog, and this is a Christmas book. So good. So basically this takes place in like the Venice of North America. I never get it's Larch Haven, Vermont. But basically it's like Venice because they have like gondolas and like waterways throughout the entire city. And it's just very picturesque. It kind of looks like a European village. It's really beautiful. Our main character, Becca Ransom, she's come back from California. She was an actress out there, but she was just feeling disconnected. She wanted to come back. She was very homesick. So she's out here and she's working in her grandparents' chocolate shop, which is delicious. So yummy. And the shop is called True Confections, and her grandparents are Lolly and Pops. Love it. So in this first one, there's a body that's found in the water and she gets involved in the case. I liked this one, but I felt like the pacing was a little bit hit or miss. Like sometimes it would be very fast and then other times it would be very sluggish. So I gave it like a 3.5 stars. Like I enjoyed it. I'd still recommend it, but it was just a little sluggish at times. But when I got to book 2, Baking Spirits Bright, it nailed it. Like a strong 4 stars for me. I absolutely adored this, and it has a baking competition. All these Christmas elements to it. There's like sledding, there's like snowmobiles, there's the Christmas baking. Oh my goodness, it's so much fun. And Becca really develops as a character throughout this series from what I'm seeing. She also has 2 cats and a cat patio where the cats hang out, which I think is really cute. I don't know if I've ever actually been, I don't think I've been to anyone's house where they had like a little cat like patio, like an enclosed outdoor space for the cats, but that's really cool. So I definitely recommend this series. I had a really good time. I don't know when the next book is coming out, but I'm really excited. I'll definitely make an effort to get it when it does come out. Another cozy I just finished is The Ghost in the Femme Fatale by Cleo Coyle. This is part of the Haunted Bookshop mystery series. So actually this month I should be reading Cleo Coyle's Coffee House mystery series, which I'm very excited for. This is the second book that I've read from this series. I've read book 2 and now I think this is book 4. I have mixed feelings about it. I really like our main character Penelope. She runs a bookshop and it's haunted by this ghost named Jack, who's a PI, like a private investigator from the 40s. And the reason he's haunting her shop is because he was murdered there. I don't think he really reveals the details, and he can talk to her, and Penelope's the only one who can hear him. They have a very interesting relationship. He talks in very like hard-boiled detective kind of terms because of his background and everything, but he helps Penelope solve cases. The thing that bothers me about this series is some of Penelope's friends, like some of the side characters, like Seymour, who's like a postman, I think. They drive me crazy. He is like the most obnoxious character, but he's her friend. Like he's not supposed to be like just an obnoxious character from what I understand. Like he's supposed to be like just a cool side character, but he drives me crazy. Drives me crazy. And maybe that's like a really specific point, but he drives me absolutely crazy. But so far I've really loved the themes from both of the books I've read in this series. This one takes place like with a film noir, like a theater production, and this star from that time, she's much older now, but she's coming forward and she's almost hit by this like speaker thing that almost falls on top of her, and Penelope gets involved in the case with Jack. The other thing I find kind of weird with this series is that Jack, who is the ghost, like flirts with Penelope, and they almost have this like semi-relationship, which I find kind of weird. I don't know, maybe I'm like reading into it too much. If you've read this, let me know. Maybe I'm like, I don't know, maybe I'm missing something. But otherwise, I really like the writing style, which is why I'm especially excited to read the Coffee House mystery series. So I'm giving this like a 3 stars. Like I enjoyed it. I had fun. If you find a book from this series that really appeals to you with the theme, maybe check it out. For me, I do plan on maybe reading 1 or 2 more from this series if I find one with a theme that really like draws me in, but it's not an all-time favorite of mine, at least not yet. One that I absolutely adored though, probably maybe the best cozy I read this month, which is tough competition because there was a lot of good ones, but A Murder You'll Regret by Winnie Archer. I talked about this in my Christmas vlog. This is part of the Breadshop mystery series. It's fantastic. It's amazing. I could not recommend this series enough. I've read 7 out of 8 books now. I still have book 8 to read, but you can jump in at any point if you want to. Like if you want to read this for Christmas, just be cautious that like the romantic subplots will be like kind of spoiled for you, but if you don't care about that, go ahead and jump in. Our main character in it is Ivy. She's a freelance photographer and a Breadshop assistant. So many good scenes with Breadshop stuff, amazing photography, and then she's working at this Dickensian Christmas party where everyone's dressed in costumes, and then a guest dies, and that's kind of the central plot. There's also a really cute pug named Agatha, which I love. So this was a very, very good cozy mystery, an excellent reveal, great characters, and I just love all the Christmas themes with this, and it's just such a heartwarming series. It's one of my favorites. Now, I did DNF actually 2 books this month, so I'm going to go over those real quick. One was Seems Deadly, which is a cozy mystery, and it's the first book in this series, and I wanted to like this book so much. But I was bored. I was really bored throughout it, and I felt like the main character was really stiff and just not that interesting, like kind of just a boring character, but at the same time, like, everyone adores her and I have no idea why. Also, I know cozy mysteries, they tend to go into, like, you know, you have like little slice of life moments where, you know, you talk about baking bread or stocking the bookstore or different things like that related to whatever the theme is. But this book would go into the most detail on sewing techniques and stuff. So, I mean, if you are someone who loves sewing, maybe you would have enjoyed those. But if you're someone like me who, sure, I want to learn a little bit about sewing and have like the coziness of the sewing community and stuff during the sewing themed mystery, then that's great, but I don't want to read like pages on it or like really detailed bits where I can't follow along because I don't know what they're talking about. So that's just me, but my primary issue with it was I just really was bored by the main character. I didn't find her interesting at all. I wasn't rooting for her. I didn't understand why everyone loved her. I just wasn't interested, and I really wanted to love this one. I really did. I felt so bad DNFing it, but I got halfway through and I couldn't do it. The other one that I got about 2/3 of the way through before I ended up calling it quits was No One Needs to Know by Lindsay Cameron, and this was actually my most anticipated summer releases thriller video, and I'll link it above if you want to check it out. And most of the ones that I've read from that list were really good so far, but this one, I can't. Basically, this is like the Upper East Side in like New York, and there's this website called Urban Myth where people anonymously share really deep, dark secrets. It's like a discussion forum board, but it's anonymous. And so you're reading different entries on this website while going between different points of views, and overall the characters are pretty interesting. I enjoyed reading from these adults' perspectives, and they all have different scandalous secrets and stuff, of course, which is what I enjoy. I like that kind of, I guess, like rich people drama and like thrillers, but I felt like the plot was going nowhere and I was just getting really like bogged down, and a lot of the secrets were very predictable, or it just wasn't. And I also feel like the author kind of confused some of the characters. Like, I feel like there was some inconsistencies in the writing. Maybe I just misunderstood at some point, but it felt like just inconsistent. I don't know. It was not a favorite for me, so I ended up DNFing it because I just kind of wasn't having a great time with it, unfortunately. I don't know. I loved the concept for this though, so I would consider reading something by this author in the future if the book caught my eye, but this one just wasn't it for me. Let's see, we have a handful of mysteries that are not cozy. We have one that's a classic and one that's like a gothic adult mystery, which wasn't too graphic. There was a little bit more than, you know, it was a little more intense than a cozy, but it was definitely not super gory or anything if that's not something you enjoy. So let's start with Miss Pinkerton. This was a goal of mine for my month of reset. I'll link that above if you want to check it out. I do these little cozy resets each month where I talk about TBRs and do some like just resetting for the next month, goals, that sort of thing. One of my goals this month was to read this, Miss Pinkerton by Mary Roberts Rinehart. Basically, Miss Adams is a nurse and she's kind of enlisted by the local police to work in different situations where there's been like a mysterious death because people kind of ignore her. You know, she's just there for work, so they're not really looking at her suspiciously, and she can collect clues. Basically, this man ends up dying and the police and everyone else kind of assumes like he killed himself, but there's some evidence that suggests otherwise. So she starts to collect clues. I loved the writing for this. I loved the journey, but the ending was convoluted. I felt like the author had to really, really explain the ending for me to kind of be like, oh, I guess that makes sense. But I didn't really have that like aha moment. I didn't really, you know, the dots didn't fully connect for me. Whereas like Agatha Christie is similar, where there's like a lot of clues, a lot of detail, and there's a lot of usually explaining at the end, but it comes together, like it clicks for me, and this one just didn't do that. So if you have read other Mary Roberts Rinehart, please let me know. What is your favorite book from her? Because I definitely want to read more from her because I liked the writing otherwise. I gave it about 3.5 stars because I still enjoyed most of it, but the ending just didn't, I don't know. Maybe I missed something, but I was not connecting with the ending. It really didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Like I had to kind of reread it for it to make sense. And I liked Miss Adams as a character. I know there are other ones I think featuring her, but if you have any recommendations for this author, please let me know. I would love to read more from her. It just wasn't quite my favorite. Now, one that is like one of my all-time favorite books I've read this year is A Dreadful Splendor by B.R. Myers. This was amazing. I I honestly read this in basically one sitting because I couldn't get up. Fortunately, it was like a Saturday when I read it, but it's so good. So it's described as a mix of gothic, mystery, and romance. The romance is pretty light. It's definitely more on the gothic and mystery side, and the cover is divine. Basically, our main character is Genevieve, and she's a con artist. She's a fraud. She puts on these fake seances to, you know, con people out of their money, basically, which obviously isn't great. And one day she's actually caught by the police. They throw her in jail. But this mysterious man says that he works for, like, this lord in the area, and he can get her out of jail if she promises to put on a fake seance for the man, the lord, because he recently lost his bride in a very tragic way, and he's hoping that the seance will give him some closure. So it's really, really interesting. The mystery was great. I called parts of it, but it was so intense. I loved her as a character. I cannot wait for more adult mysteries from B.R. Myers. I know she's written young adults, like, novels before, but this was her adult novel debut, and it was excellent. I'm so impressed. Like, I'm already starting to plan my top 23 books out of 2023, and this is going to be on the list for sure. I had so much fun with this. It was amazing. See, so one cozy that I read was the Secret Santa collection. I specifically read Nightmare on Elf Street by Laura Levine for my Christmas video because I love the Jane Austen mystery series. It's a very comedic series. It is a cozy mystery series, but I kind of consider it almost comedy first because it's so funny and, like, self-deprecating, like, don't take it seriously. The main character is Jane Austen, and she's a freelance writer in and of itself, and then her cat's name is Prozac, and that cat is hilarious, absolutely hilarious. The premise for this one is that Jane ends up working as an elf for a mall Santa, which isn't her ideal job, but, you know, she needs the work, she needs to get the gig, and so many Christmas funny shenanigans, a great mystery, really funny. Had an amazing time with it. If you like the series or you're looking for some fun Christmas short stories, I recommend it. It was so fun. So one of my most anticipated releases as well for thrillers was Beneath the Surface by Rouda, and this was really good. I liked this. Is it an all-time favorite? No, it's not, but I did really fly through this. I thought it was well written. It's more of a drama, I would say. I don't know, you have, like, a sense of danger throughout it, but it's more, like, about family drama until the end, I would say. But the premise for this is that the Kingsley are this extremely wealthy family, and the sons are invited with their wives onto the family yacht, and they're gonna have, like, a weekend away at Catalina Island. Alright, great. Well, they arrive and they weren't expecting the other brother to be there, and they find out that this is basically a competition to become the heir to, like, the family business, because their dad's pretty old at this point. So you're reading from different people's perspectives. There were so many secrets and things that came out during this. It was incredibly entertaining. Just, again, like, if you like that really, like, rich people family drama for thrillers, this was entertaining. The boat itself made it a very precarious location because it's isolated, and there was some very stormy bad weather. The ending surprised me, but I really liked the ending. I was rooting for it, and I thought this was fun. And there's just something about the ocean that's just so foreboding because it just goes on, and someone could just, you know, be swept away. So I really enjoyed this. I would recommend it. I think it was a really fun read. Mocha She Wrote by Ellie Alexander. This is part of the Bakeshop mystery series. I think it's around book 13 or so. So I'm getting close to catching up. So the main character in this is Jules. She works in Ashland, Oregon in her family's Bakeshop, Tort, and her employees and the sub-characters in this are so fleshed out. It's an amazing setting as well. But one of her employees, Andy, gets the opportunity to compete in this barista competition, and it's a very high-stakes competition. He's very passionate about it. He's very nervous. Well, during the competition, someone ends up dying, and Andy and a lot of the other contestants and people around are suspects, so Jules is on the case. Excellent mystery. I absolutely loved it. I barely called it, but the ending was so intense. It was so gripping, and I love the Bakeshop mystery series. Every time I go to it and read a new one, it's like returning home because it's so familiar, it's so cozy. The seasons are always really emphasized in these books, as well as holidays if there is one. So I really recommend this if you really appreciate, like, a strong setting. Such a good series. This next one, Everyone Here Is Lying by Shari Lapena. Oh my goodness. No. When I tell you the ending for this had me so incredibly, I was shocked. I was floored. And then, like, the very last chapter or so with this, and the last line If you know, you know. I'm not going to spoil it, of course. The last line for this made my heart stop. I was... Okay. So the basic premise for this, I'm trying to collect my thoughts, is that we have a family, so there's, there's a husband, there's a wife, and then there's a young son, and then a younger sister. So one day, the husband comes home early when no one else is supposed to be home because he came home, he's having an affair. Not good, but he runs into his daughter who's not supposed to know that he's there because he's supposed to be at work, but he had left because he was having an affair and all this stuff. Well, he leaves, and then later on the daughter is missing and drama ensues. Secrets are coming out. This was so good. Honestly, I'm trying to remember what I rated it on Goodreads, but definitely like a 4.5, 5 stars. The ending for this had me completely like heart stopped. There were so many good scenes in this. It was really good. The ending, I was like absolutely, I loved it. I was shocked, I was floored, I was enthralled. I had every emotion during this book, and it was just so good. I've read one other book by her. I think the one I read was A Stranger in the House, and I read that one and I liked it. It was more of a 3.5, I think, for me, but this one was amazing. I absolutely recommend it. It was so good, so gripping, definitely very dark. Like any thriller, I would recommend looking up trigger warnings. There were definitely some very dark topics, especially as you would imagine with a little girl missing, so just keep that in mind, but definitely a very good thriller. Oh, and then one of the other cozies I read for my first reading vlog this month was The Secret Book in Scone Society by Ellery Adams. So many of you had recommended this to me, and thank you guys who recommended this because it was incredible. Our main character is Nora, and she lives in this place that's like known for people coming to get healing, basically. It's kind of remote, it's a little small town, and she has a special talent for helping people find the book that they need in that exact moment, whether it's fiction or nonfiction. She runs a bookshop. She is a very closed off person. She's had some rough history in the past, which it goes into, but essentially a murder happens, and she and a couple of other women in the town start to bond together, and they form the Secret Book and Scone Society, which kind of has a requirement of kind of revealing your dark secret that led you to this town where everyone is looking for healing. You know, what brought you here, because if you're here, that's kind of the gimmick, I guess, and I really enjoyed it. I thought the characters were great for this. I thought they were so interesting. I thought they were fleshed out. I can't wait to see how their secrets and things and like progress and emotional healing evolve throughout the series. I'm hoping some of the books deal with the individual characters in the society, maybe trying to go after things and like, I don't know, resolve things that they're still dealing with. I would love that, but I really enjoyed this. It was definitely a little deeper than your average cozy, and I liked it. It's still really good. Mystery was great. Definitely recommend this. Thank you guys for recommending this. I loved it. We got 2 more books. I read No Exit by Taylor Adams. So I actually forgot that I tried to read The Last Word by Taylor Adams earlier this year, and I DNF'd it very early on. I really, really disliked the writing for it. I didn't like it. I really didn't like it. I can't even quite put my finger on why, but it just really did not appeal to me when I was reading it. And I actually forgot that this was the same author until I was like halfway through this book, but I loved this book. Now I will say this book was especially gory. It was brutal. I will say, like, it definitely, again, trigger warnings, look them up, but it was so gripping. I could barely put it down. I was on the edge of my seat. If you are looking for a thriller that is extremely fast-paced, that gets into the story almost immediately, like you are, I mean, from like page 1, you're already kind of feeling the tension and the drama and the freezing cold weather. So our main character, this is Darby, and she is driving home basically in a blizzard because she finds out that her mom has terminal cancer and she's trying to get home before Christmas. So this actually takes place leading up to Christmas, so perfect time of year to read it. And she is unfortunately forced to stop and to enter a rest stop because the weather is so bad she can't drive out there, she can't see. So there's her and a couple other strangers in the rest stop. Well, she ends up going out to her car to see if she can get a signal on her phone to try to reach out to like her sister and her mom to see how things are going, right, and to give them an update. When she's outside in the parking lot, she looks over into someone else's car, and there's a little hand in the window. There's a kid locked in a cage in someone's car. I don't even, like, I mean, what? And of course she knows this is a remote rest stop. She knows it's one of the people inside the rest stop who must have, like, kidnapped this kid. Because, I mean, why else would they be in a cage? Like, you know, that's not, you wouldn't leave your kid or someone, you wouldn't leave anyone's kid if you cared in a cage in a cold car. That makes no sense. So she knows that the kid's been kidnapped, and she's trying to figure out, how can I help this kid? How can I save them? Am I in danger? And the other people, are they in danger from whoever did the kidnapping? Like, what is going on? How do I get them out? And she can't exactly just, like, break the kid out and then drive off because of the weather. This is the most intense, it was one of the most intense thrillers I've ever read. I was so terrified at almost all times for the characters in this. So really good. I will definitely try more Taylor Adams, even though The Last Word didn't do it for me. Okay, and then last but not least, I had a goal this month in my monthly reset to read a nonfiction, and I did. And this is Life in Five Senses by Gretchen Rubin. The premise is how exploring the senses got me out of my head and into the world. Basically, she breaks down the importance of really leaning into your senses, because we're so focused on digital stuff now, right? And although that can be visual or, like, auditory, we kind of, like, we miss, like, looking around us and really taking in the details and just observing things more and listening and appreciating the fragrance and the smell and the touch and just taking those moments to really appreciate those things. And so she kind of dives, her writing style is kind of like part memoir, because she kind of describes herself going through and trying different experiments and how she tries to, like, get into these projects that she sets up. Her book, The Happiness Project, is what she's most well known for, and I really recommend it. I love it. But this one, all the chapters and sections were based on each of the 5 main senses, like, you know, vision, touch, hearing, etc. I really recommend this. It's really inspired me to try to ground myself more in the present moment, to really appreciate things with my senses, and to lean into the senses that I'm not as strong with, because I feel like I'm someone who I have a very strong sense of smell, and I rely on my eyes very well. I feel like I pick up details and, like, colors and really appreciate things visually. But, like, auditory wise, I love music, but I'm not as, like, attuned with that, you know, and same with, like, touch. Maybe I don't rely on that as much. So I really want to lean into that more, and this book just gave me a lot of inspiration for that. So I would recommend it if it sounds interesting to you. It's just a really interesting read. That is everything from me for today, guys. I had overall a really good reading month, a couple DNFs and disappointments, but overall some new favorites and just a lot of enjoyable reads. Please let me know down below, how was your reading month? Would you recommend anything? Did you DNF anything? I'd love to hear your recommendations and reviews, negative or positive. Or if you read anything that I read, let me know if you enjoyed it or didn't. Even if it's different from mine, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Thank you again for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe if you're not already. I do post new book and, like, cozy living content every single week on my channel, so if that sounds good to you, hit subscribe. I talk about mysteries and thrillers and cozy books primarily. I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye!